So before Kell Brook, there's been a lot of welterweights who have tried to win that middleweight title, and some succeeded. Here's a little list that was compiled, made by Daniel Herbert and Nick Bond. They start at 1908, where Mike Twin Sullivan, never heard of him. He was a welterweight. He challenged Stanley Ketchel, a very good middleweight champion, in 1908, and he was starched in a round by Ketchel. Jack Twin Sullivan, Mike, I guess that's his name. He didn't fare any better. That's Mike's brother. But it took 20 rounds for Ketchel to get rid of him. Mickey Walker was the reigning welterweight king when he lost over 15 rounds to the legendary Harry Greb in 1925. Some people say that they had a fight after the fight outside a speakeasy on the same night. Wouldn't shut me. The white boys are crazy back then. Walker went on to win the middleweight title and challenged for the light heavyweight championship against Slapsy Maxie Rosenblum. Old cauliflower ear Slapsy Maxie. He took the title from Tiger Flowers, the first black middleweight champion. And Mickey was a very good fighter. Very good fighter. I mean, he fought all the way up to heavyweight, taking on Max Schmeling. The fight is online and he gets dispatched brutally. You know, but that's the type of guy he was. Ace Hudkins, the Nebraska Wildcat. He outgrew the welters by the time he lost a 10-round decision to New Jersey's Mickey Walker. He fought Mickey Walker a couple of times, I believe, Ace. Henry Armstrong tried to capture a fourth weight class simultaneously against Seferino Garcia. It was the Californian version of the world title at 160, but nevertheless the world title. And he came away with a disputed draw after 10 rounds. Henry weighed probably 140 something pounds for the contest. I think Garcia, I haven't got the exact rate, so go look it up on BoxRec. He came in about 151, 152. The weight limit was the stipulated 160, but that's the weights they came in. That was in 1940. Kid Gavilan, the Cuban, the bolo puncher. He didn't invent the bolo punch. He's just the fighter who made it worldwide and popularized it. The distinction of the inventor, I believe that's a Philippine fighter, way back in the day. Can't remember his name. He lost to Carl Boba Olsen over 15 rounds in 1954. Gavilan weighed in at 155 pounds with his clothes on. Carmen Basilio, he took on Sugar Ray Robinson in 1957 and won a split decision and became middleweight champion. Ray got his revenge in a rematch and outpointed him over 15. Benny Kid Paret at number 7 took a terrible dousing. I mean, like, it looked like Gene Fullman was putting out a fire that day. Like, he wasn't joking. A terrible beating. He was stopped in 10 for Gene Fullman's National Boxing Association middleweight crown, which the National Boxing Association is today the WBA. It was scheduled for 15. Fullman stopped him in 10. And in all truth, the damage, the historians and the observers of that fight back then will tell you that the damage inflicted on Paret in that fight was probably a big factor behind his death in the ring in his next fight against Emil Griffiths for the welterweight title. He enraged Griffiths by calling him a faggot and homosexual, and Griffiths took it out on him in the ring. And Emil Griffiths himself, he scaled in at 150.5 pounds when he outboxed Dick Tiger to become the world middleweight champion. Emil Griffiths is a 3-time world champion. Sometimes he's just labeled as 2, but he's the first light middleweight champion, welterweight champion 2, and middleweight champion, as we see here, outpointing Dick Tiger. The Nigerian Dick Tiger, good fighter. Jose Napoles, Manaquila, smooth as butter, very good welterweight champion. He took on Carlos Monzon, who was too big for him in their 1974 fight in Paris and was retired after 6 rounds. Sugar Ray Leonard. He outpointed Marvelous Marvin Hagler over 12 rounds, split decision in Caesar's Palace in 1987. You see, for the most part, they've compiled a list of people who jumped straight from welter to middle. But Leonard did win the light middle crown against Ayub Kaluli. And then he moved back down to fight Thomas Hearns for the unification of the welterweight belts. So he did fight a light middle beforehand, but that's how they've compiled the list, you know. It's not an exact science the way they did it. Amir Khan, obviously, he got starched by Canelo Alvarez May the 7th, 2016. The stipulated weight limit was 155, which they both weighed in at. Khan was dramatically KO'd in what probably is going to be the knockout of this year. And obviously we got Kell Brook, who got hammered by Triple G and was stopped on his feet when Dominic Ingle threw the towel in the 5th round. They've omitted Tommy Hearns and guys like that, but I guess that's because Hearns was coming off light middleweight victories against the likes of Duran and Benitez when he took on Hagler, and he was 4 years out of the welterweight division when he took on Hagler. He hadn't been a welterweight for 4 years. Felix Trinidad, he was a light middleweight champion when he challenged the likes of William Joppy and Hopkins, but he started as a welterweight, a pro welterweight champion, and he's not on the list either. So, you know, it's just a little sample, I guess, they're giving us here.